Hi, I'm Kevin, and I'm here with Aaron and Sean to discuss our favorite movies of the year so far. We've all just seen them.
At some point during the year.
At some point during the year. So, Sean.
Yes.
Give me one of yours.
Life Itself, the documentary on Roger Ebert, is just a beautiful movie. Steve James, the director of Hoop Dreams, directed this. And, you know, I grew up with Roger Ebert, as you guys probably did as well. And, you know, I have a certain affinity toward him and his reviews when he was on television because they really influenced me in a great way. And just to see his life unfold in the manner that this documentary allows it to. It's just a great movie and a great time, a heartfelt time, both funny and sad, and just pretty much everything you could want in a movie is contained within this documentary.
Yeah, it was a fantastic film.
And sometimes it's hard to watch.
Yes.
Because he allows everybody to see, you know, what's been going on with him and his health, and so it's a little difficult, but I think it was necessary.
It's a documentary that not only teaches people but also makes them feel something, and that's the mark of a true great documentary.
Aaron?
Well, I guess I'm going to be on the side of lots of other critics. I'm going to say that my favorite is Boyhood, and it's for a lot of reasons. One of the main reasons certainly has to do with the fact that it is a very unique production and the fact that it took 12 years to make, and no one has ever really done that in that way. I mean, we have 56 Up, but...
Not in a narrative.
Yeah, exactly. So that has a huge impact on how I view the film. The fact that you literally get to see this young man grow up in front of your eyes in 3 hours is incredible. The experience of watching the film reminded me of how I view memory, because there's, you know, you don't remember everything that happened in the year. You remember small, sometimes random moments that don't necessarily stick in your mind for any one particular reason, and that's sort of how the film unfolded. Sure, there's plenty of, you know, heavy stuff that defined who these people are, but there's also all these small instances, you know, when they're young, looking at, you know,
magazines.
Naked girls in magazines and things like that.
Sears catalog.
Yeah,
Yes.
Right, the Sears catalog, the lingerie section of
Yes.
Sears.
I mean, I have to say that that's one of my top choices for the year. Like you, I felt it was more of a memory movie. It was how we all look back on our lives. We don't look back at, I mean, yeah, we look back at the big moments, deaths and things like that, but I remember small little things that actually do affect you more than you expect that they're going to affect you, and I felt like this movie was full of those, and that's really what it was about. And I think some people aren't quite understanding that, but I feel like when you go see it, you kind of let it wash over you and you kind of start to get it.
I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. It stayed off my list. This seems to be more of a critic's movie than an audience movie. I don't know that audiences are really taking to this, which I sort of understand in a strange way, because ultimately they're not going to care about the behind-the-scenes elements. They're just going to come in and see the story, and I don't think that the story is exactly as masterful as the behind-the-scenes elements are.
Sure.
For me, the Before trilogy is more of Linklater's stamp on really cinema, and I will watch those movies probably long into the future. Boyhood, I'm sure I'll look back on, but I don't know if I'll remember it with as much affection as I will the Before films.
Kevin, what's your favorite movie of the year so far?
Okay, let me preface this by saying I don't want any internet hate because I know I'm going to get backlash on this, but I don't care.
It must be Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, right. But I feel like I didn't justify my love for this movie when we first reviewed it, so I'm going to do that now. My favorite movie of the year so far is Winter's Tale, which I know was bashed by critics, but then there's a lot of critics who didn't even see it because they heard it was bad, so they didn't even bother going. So I feel like nobody gave it a fair shake. Here's the thing. This movie is very much like Field of Dreams, where Field of Dreams, if you watch it, and you really watch it logically, it makes no sense at all. But you kind of just accepted it. And you're like, okay, so these dead ball players are coming back for no reason. And if you step over a line, you're going to become old. I mean, you didn't question it. But it affected a lot of people, and a lot of people love that movie, myself included. This is the same type of movie where you kind of have to go in and go, okay, it's not the real world as we know it. There's a lot of magic in it. There's a lot of kind of just... It's a fairy tale-esque for adults. So if you kind of just give yourself over to the fairy tale aspect of it, I think it's a very beautiful movie. It has a great message. And the love story between Colin Farrell and Jessica Brown Findlay's characters is so potent and so beautiful that I think you just get swept away in that part of it. But I feel like people are going to kind of start catching it on cable and Blu-ray, and eventually it's going to be a beloved film.
Ooh.
I do. I think people are going to see it and go like, hey, did you ever see that Winter's Tale movie? And that's how it's going to kind of become something.
I can't really comment on this movie because I, like 90% of the world, didn't see it.
Yeah, and
me
you know
too,
what? You all
sorry.
stink.
We'll go. I'll watch it with you. I'll watch it at your place.
But you can't. You have to like it. So you have to love it.
I'll do my best to love it. Okay, I will accept that it is magical realism. It's kind of interesting how it's very easy to accept that kind of stuff in some movies and not in others. I mean, I suffer from it all the time. Like, this isn't believable.
Well, they have to create their own world, and they have to basically stick by their own rules, and some movies do that, and some movies don't.
What's your second favorite?
Second favorite is what I consider to have the best performance of the year in it so far, and that's Locke with Tom Hardy,
It's a good one.
which manages to be exciting even though it's only in a car the entire film. It's 85 minutes. It's a brisk 85 minutes. Tom Hardy is electrifying as an actor, and this to me is really the movie that I think people will suddenly sort of recognize his talents. I mean, he's been coming up in the ranks a little bit. You know, of course, he was Bane in Batman, but this is sort of, I think, a true vehicle. For him to really showcase his
he's in a
talents. Because he's in a car.
He's in a car for 80 minutes.
And this is what I like to call the Bluetooth version of My Dinner with Andre. You know, because it's just him talking with people back and forth, but the conversations are extremely realistic.
Yeah.
They really ring true. The dialogue rings true. And it's just a really interesting movie to watch unfold. I think people... Either it was marketed poorly or people thought it might be a thriller, which it's really not. It's just
That was part of it.
kind of a drama.
Yeah.
And
It's just kind of this the whole time, which isn't bad.
Although I will argue that even though I mean, I didn't know what was going to happen when I saw it, because he's in a car, there is kind of through the whole thing, you're just like...
Worry he's going to get in a crash.
Right.
Yeah.
Darren, next pick for the year?
All right, I'm gonna pick Grand Budapest Hotel, directed by and written by Wes Anderson. Wes Anderson is another one of my favorite directors. The real reason I love it is because it's not only funny, which Wes Anderson films typically are, it's also dark, and it manages to balance those two tones very well. It also is a movie where the outside world actually affects what's going on in the film. Typically, Wes Anderson films are always very self-contained, and this one is taking place during a world war. So you've got, you know, some interesting dynamics that happen there, and I just think he's continuing to evolve as a director, and it's really fun to watch his movies. And I had a lot of fun in the movie theater watching it.
yeah, I mean, the prison escape sequence for me was
So
one of the
amazing.
highlights. It's just so, you know, you'd think you'd seen every prison escape scene you could possibly ever see on film.
Yeah.
And then Wes Anderson makes one. It's like, all right, well, that's one more way to do it. Yeah, I mean, it again, sort of narrowly missed out on my list of best so far.
Well, give me another movie, Kevin. What's another?
Okay, well, I already told you Boyhood was one on my top 3, but my other one was Edge of Tomorrow. I wanted to pick, you know, a big blockbuster because there was a couple good blockbusters this year with
Yeah.
Captain America and Guardians of the Galaxy and Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. But Edge of Tomorrow stood out mostly because nobody saw it. And
It was really good, too.
And people should see it. It was so good. And people were like, oh, Tom Cruise. Well, you know, Tom Cruise is fantastic in this. He's funny. He's charming. It's kind of like old school Tom Cruise that you kind of miss. And Emily Blunt is great. She's not just eye candy. She holds her own. Special effects are fantastic. It's an original story. Even though we've seen stories similar, Groundhog Day, but sure, you've seen Groundhog Day. That's it.
Yeah.
So this
Not
isn't
Groundhog
that much
Day
of a,
with crazy aliens.
Right, exactly, right. So, I mean, I was just fascinated by it. I was laughing. I was cheering. I've seen it twice. I think it's a great movie, and I really, really, really wish people had seen it.
It was original. That's the thing I really loved
Yeah.
about it. It was an original story, and it's a bummer that people didn't want to go see it or thought that it was bad because people are always clamoring for original stories. I don't like seeing the same movie over and over again. So
Right. So let's recap our favorites, Sean.
Life Itself.
my favorite was Boyhood.
And Winter's Tale.
Excellent.
So cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers to-
Hopefully the second half of 2014 will be even better.
Hi, I'm Kevin, and I'm here with Sean and Aaron, and we are here to discuss our...
Are you the $6 million man?
We can rebuild him.